So in 2020, we've seen some big shocks happen in Gaelic football. We've seen Cork beat Kerry, we've seen Tipperary beat Cork, and then of course be crowned the Munster Senior Football Champions for the first time in 80 odd years. We also seen Cavan win their first Ulster Senior Football Championship in 23 years after their win over Donegal. And of course they beat the likes of Monaghan coming from behind along the way and had a very great championship year. So what I thought I would do is have a look at 5 counties this year, 2021, in Gaelic football that could cause a shock, that could really cause an upset. Now, will these teams win their provincial championships? Personally, I don't think so, in all honesty. But what I do think these counties can do is really improve on previous years. They'll have good young players coming through, and they could be the surprise package. Every year in the championship, there's a surprise package. There's a team that catches the eye. There's a team that comes out of nowhere. And in 2021, and in this video, I'm going to be looking at 5 counties that in 2021 could potentially beat a team to cause an upset in this year's championship. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to GA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I hope you're all keeping wonderfully well. So what counties could cause a shock and cause a surprise in the 2021 All-Ireland Football Championship and of course in the National League as well? Which counties could be on the rise and could be the ones to watch out for? That's what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be looking at 5 of them in total. So we'll start things off with Louth. So of course, obviously Louth have a new manager in Mickey Hart that has come in. And obviously Mickey Hart, one of the best managers of all time, without doubt. Of course, we know the success that he done with Tyrone, winning 3 All-Ireland Championships, I think 6 Ulsters as well, a couple of National Leagues springed in there as well. And look, listen, when he stepped away from Tyrone, or when his contract wasn't renewed as such, I think a lot of people thought that would be it for Mickey Hart. He'd retire and his days as a Gaelic football manager would be over. But in he comes into good old Louth, of course, and no one really could have ever seen him going there. And it's a very ambitious, very interesting project without doubt for Mickey Hart. I think Louth are one of those teams that really in the past couple of years have really declined, but they do have some shining lights in that team already. Sam Mulroy in particular, one of the best forwards potentially in the country, scored all of Louth's points in their championship defeat to Longford. He scored 1-7 and that was all that Louth hit. So Louth are very reliant on him without doubt, but what Mickey Hart will do is he'll organise the team, he'll get them settled in defence, and he'll undoubtedly make a lot of those players better. And you're looking at the likes of Conal McKeever and Kieran Keenan. If they can even increase their levels a little bit more, get a little bit better, and then you've got Sam Mulroy, a manager esteemed as Mickey Hart, without doubt they could be a bit of a surprise package in 2020. I think promotion from Division 4 is definitely potentially on the cards. I mean, we'll have to see what the layout will be in the National League. Most likely they'll be there with Antrim, so that will be a bit difficult, but you certainly wouldn't rule it out without doubt. And obviously for the Leinster Championship, I mean, when you take Dublin out of the equation, it is very competitive and a lot of shocks do happen. A lot of teams do get beat. We've seen counties like Carlow and Longford that have caused big upsets down the year. So there's no reason why Louth can't do that again. So without doubt, Louth certainly a county to watch in 2021. Next up, we'll discuss Offaly. Now, Offaly for me, I think they're more along the lines of a side that really could cause an upset. I think with Louth, yes, they do have one of the best forwards in the country and a really, one of the best managers in the country in Mickey Hart, but I still think Louth have a bit to go to really get to the level where they can potentially cause an upset. But I'm looking at Offaly and they've got a very good forward line in my opinion. You've got Keane Farrell in there, Noel McNamee, Bernard Allen had a very good championship as well. You've got rising players like Keane Johnson and Dave Dempsey coming through as well. And not to mention, we were talking before about Mickey Hart being one of the best managers of all time. Well, John Mon, the manager, of course, of Offaly, I mean, he's achieved a lot of success as well. He knows about a provincial shock. He knows about causing massive upsets because he done it with Clare back in 1992. He won the Munster Senior Football Championship, arguably the biggest provincial shock of all time when Clare beat Kerry in that year's final. And look, listen, that was a long time ago. But he is getting Offaly on the right track. They avoided relegation last season, which I thought was impressive. And I think another factor that could go in Offaly's favour this year is the layout, of course, of the National League Championship. So most likely, in Division 3. Offaly will be paired up in a group of 4 with Tipperary, Wicklow and Limerick. For me, that gives them a massive opportunity of getting promotion. Limerick and Wicklow are obviously 2 teams coming down or coming up from Division 4. Tipperary will be the obvious favourites there for sure, but for me, Offaly are definitely dark horses to get promoted to Division 2, and I think it wouldn't surprise me at all if they did cause 1 or 2 shocks in the Leinster Championship as well. I thought they were very bright against Kildare last year, and I think they're definitely not a million miles away. And like what I was saying before, the Leinster Championship, when you take Dublin out of it, I think anything can really happen, and I think Offaly are a county that will, if they do come up against Meath or Kildare, I think they'll push them very, very close, and I think they will be one of the teams to watch in 2021. Next up, we have Limerick, and of course Limerick, the Division 4 champions from 2020, and of course if it hadn't been for Conor Sweeney's miraculous late point down by the sideline, of course, in that Munster senior football semi-final, Limerick would have been in the Munster senior football final. Now, would they have beat Cork? Probably not. I think Tipperary have far better forwards, and I think that was one of the main reasons why Tipperary got over the line. But I do think Limerick are a side that are certainly improving, certainly getting better year on year, and certainly last year wouldn't have been a team that anyone really would have expected to get promoted from Division 4. But with the likes of Killian Fahy and Ian Corbett coming through, they are a very tight-knit together working team. They don't have individual stars or talents. They don't have a Conor Sweeney or a Michael Quinlivan, and I suppose that is the big point here, is they don't have one of them. So what if they can find one of those players? What if they can bring through a very top forward? Now, it is all if, buts and maybes. I mean, the likelihood of that happening is probably quite rare, given the fact that Limerick haven't really produced any top forwards in Gaelic football down the years. But look, listen, they do have a brand new centre of excellence down there. It's been one of the main reasons for Limerick's success has been the resources and everything else that the Limerick County Board have done for that county. I think they've done a phenomenal job. I think that's one of the reasons why their hurlers have been on the increase. A lot of the players they're bringing through their academy at the moment is phenomenal, and I think Limerick have done a really good job at bringing through young players, promoting the sport in that county. And I think, you know, their success last year wasn't a coincidence, and I really do feel in the next 5 to 10 years that we will look at this Limerick team as a team that could potentially emulate what Tipperary done this year, or not this year, last year in 2020, which is win a Munster championship. Now, that's quite a big statement, but I just have a really sneaky feeling that they could be very, very close in the next couple of years. Now, in terms of 2021, I'm looking more so at the qualifiers. You know, I think going through the qualifiers, they could cause 1 or 2 shocks. I think, again, we said it there, the teams that they'll most likely be paired up with in Division 3, so they'll be there with Offaly, Tipperary and Wicklow. So there is a huge chance that they could even get back-to-back promotions. It's definitely not impossible. I mean, if they finish in the top 2 in that group, then of course they're 1 game away from potentially getting promotion. So it's not impossible for Limerick, and like I said before, with everything, with the resources that Limerick have been able to work so brilliantly in that county, I think they are on the rise, and certainly in 2021 they'll be a team to keep an eye on. Next up, we have Kildare. So Kildare, for me, I mean, they're a hard one to judge in many ways. In many ways, they probably really shouldn't be on this list. You know, Kildare should probably be up there with the top counties, for example, in many ways. But in all honesty, it's just gone very badly wrong for Kildare in the past couple of years. It's gone very bad. In fact, you know, losing to the likes of Longford and everything else. And whilst the likes of Meath get massive criticism for getting absolutely hammered by Dublin, people do forget that Kildare got hammered by Meath in that semi-final. And look, Kildare were probably the better side at one stage in that game, you know, probably in the first half. But when Kildare collapsed, they absolutely collapsed completely. And Meath, you know, they just ran straight through, scoring so many goals, and Kildare just completely capitulated. And it was quite embarrassing in many ways. But look, listen, there are some positives for Kildare. Otherwise, they would not be on this list. And I think the fact that Jack O'Connor, this will be his 2nd year now in charge, he'll have a more settled squad. He'll know his players more and more. And I think he'll be able to get more out of them. And I think he'll now probably know more along the lines of what his starting 15 will be going into the league and going into the championship as well. And Derek Irwan and Jimmy Hyland, 2 young players coming through the ranks of Kildare at the moment, and I thought they were very, very impressive for Kildare. In particular, Jimmy Hyland. It's a player that I remember seeing at minor level a couple of years ago, and he is definitely a talent without doubt. Daniel Flynn, of course, as well, coming back into the fold. He came back into the fold last year. Really didn't get back to his best. Not back to the, I think it was at the 2017 or 2018 Daniel Flynn that was absolutely outstanding. I remember in 2017 against Dublin, he had a really good game, and Dublin struggled to deal with him in that year's Leinster final. So you're looking at Daniel Flynn and you're thinking, he is a serious talent. If you can get the best out of him, you combine Dara Kirwan and Jimmy Hyland, you've got a very good forward line. And certainly for Kildare, I think they should be, realistically speaking, looking at becoming the second best team in Leinster. I mean, they should be looking to become the best team in Leinster, but obviously Dublin are so far ahead. But I do think right now a realistic ambition is certainly finishing, getting to a Leinster final if they don't play Dublin somewhere along the way. So, yeah, and look, listen, in Division 2, I think there's a massive chance of promotion. That they'll be paired up with Laois, Cork and Clare, as far as I'm aware. Obviously, we're going off the geographical locations of the National League this year. So if that is the group they're paired in, I think massive opportunity of them getting promoted. Certainly not impossible. So yeah, I think Kildare, I'm expecting a big year from them. I'm expecting them to bounce back, and I think that they'll be a team without doubt to keep an eye on in 2021. And then last but not least, or well, depending on what way you want to look at it, it is Derry. So Derry, of course, yeah, look, listen, they're a team for me that certainly do have a lot of right structures in place and could be a team that could maybe cause a shock in the Ulster Championship, or maybe go on a run through the qualifiers in 2021. A bit like what we were saying with Jack O'Connor in Kildare. Rory Gallagher, this will be his second year in charge of the Derry footballers, and he is the National League king in many ways, Rory Gallagher. I mean, he's never won the National League, but he just always seems to, his best work always seems to be in the National League. I mean, Fermanagh finished third in Division 2, I think, in 2019, which, almost sounds, unheard of right now, considering Fermanagh could potentially even go down to Division 4 this year. I mean, who knows? He done all right with Donegal in his time there as well, like in the National League anyway. He didn't get them relegated. His championship form wasn't great. So you're looking at Derry and thinking promotion to Division 2, very likely, possibly. They'll probably be paired with Fermanagh, Longford and Cavan. Obviously, Cavan will be the favourites, but certainly for Derry, I don't think they'll be a million miles away. And the return of Conor Glass, I mean, he will be a talent without doubt, of course. He came back from the AFL last year, played in the Armagh game, but it was his first game, so he'll have more time back in the squad, back settled in Derry, of course. And yeah, Shane McGuigan and Chrissy McCaig are obviously their two veterans, their two most experienced players, but I am expecting other young players to come through. I do think Derry are probably maybe the least likely on this list to cause a shock, just with the fact that the Ulster Championship is so competitive. And look, listen, I know Cavan did cause a massive shock last year, but you're looking at 4 or 5 teams that could potentially win it. It's going to be very difficult indeed for Derry to do anything. But look, listen, I do think a run through the qualifiers isn't impossible, and yeah, Derry, without doubt, could be a team, and Conor Glass as well in that forward line, so they could be a team to watch out for. Before we wrap up, there are some other kind of honourable mentions as well. Tipperary and Cavan, I mean, they caused the big shocks last year. They could easily cause big shocks this year. It's not impossible without doubt. And in particular, Cavan. I think Cavan, for me, are more likely to win the Ulster Championship in 2021 than the likes of Armagh, for example. I put Donegal and Tyrone as the two favourites, but I'd probably put Cavan underneath them, in all honesty, because I think they've shown over the past 2 years, getting to back-to-back Ulster finals, that they are a top team in Ulster now, in my opinion. Wicklow, maybe, potentially. I mean, it's a hard one to know. Did they hit the absolute heights last year? Hard to really know if they will be a team that could cause shocks. I mean, it could be a bit of a Carlow situation where they get to Division 3 and have really kind of done the best that they can, but we'll have to wait and see. Longford, Antrim, 2 counties that could easily cause surprises potentially as well. Longford will be in a tough group in their league. Antrim, they'll be with the likes of Louth, Leitrim and Sligo in Division 4, so that's going to be tough as well. But Antrim, under Enda McGinley, they're always a county that for me potentially could take a step in the right direction, that could get promoted to Division 3, that could bring through very, very talented players indeed. So they mightn't be a million miles away. Could 2021 be the year that they cause a bit of a shock? Who really knows? But anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Yeah, just a bit of a different video today, looking at 5 counties that could potentially cause a shock in 2021 in both the National Football League and All-Ireland Football Championship. So if you have enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. I'd kindly appreciate it. Share this out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All the social media links are down below. Have a lovely week, have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you later.